Hey, Brandon. This story is about the minimum wage ordinance in the city of Pasadena. And the bottom line is tomorrow afternoon, the minimum wage, Pasadena's minimum wage ordinance is going to be discussed at the city's EdTech, Economic and what do they call it? Economic Development Committee. Economic Development and Technology Committee. It's on the agenda to be discussed. And here's what I'd like to ask you to do. First of all, the minimum wage story is a very long and involved one in Pasadena. Started about 2 years ago and actually figured prominently in the race for the mayorship that Terry Tornek won. And there are many, many, many stories on Pasadena now about this. This started out of a movement primarily led by local labor leaders, local church leaders, and by the politicians running for the mayor's office and city council to raise the minimum wage in Pasadena. This went on to a number of demonstrations, and the city council finally voted it into city law. Just about, I don't know, 2 weeks or something before the state of California did the same thing. So what you have is a story where Pasadena rushed to get this done, to be a local leader, to do a very progressive thing, and you find out that shortly after they did it, the state did it. And so suddenly all of the work, all of the effort, all of the campaigning, all of the cost of fighting for this was kind of premature because the state went ahead and did this shortly thereafter. But since Pasadena had already passed the ordinance and it was more aggressive than the state's ordinance, the city told everybody, look, you got to follow the city's ordinance. Ours is faster, sooner, and bigger, and so you got to do us, not the state of California. Then the city started saying, oh, we got to enforce this thing. Well, to enforce the thing, they have to hire people, they have to print posters, they have to go out and tell everybody. It's a big deal. It's very costly, it's very time-consuming. And so the big news is, after all of this massive effort, the EdTech Committee is looking at is looking at the possibility of canning the whole thing. I mean, they're looking at going to the city council and recommending one of three options. One is we don't change anything. One is we make our ordinance a little bit more in sync with the state of California's law and resolve some of the differences between the two. And the third is we just throw the whole damn thing out and say, hey, everybody, the state has their own, use it. Which would be kind of a stunning thing to do in light of the massive number of hours and dollars spent on the city almost recklessly rushing ahead and doing this without waiting for the state to do it. So that's the real story. So where do you get the current news? The current news is in the EdTech Committee's agenda. And in the agenda, which I will send to you, you can see that basically what they're saying here is, get through all of the history and all of the stuff, is, and it is a little complicated, I will tell you, but your job is to make it simple. Possible options the committee might want to include are, 1, maintaining the city's current ordinance, 2, maintaining the city's current ordinance, but modifying things so that it conforms to the state law. Okay? And then number 3, just repealing the whole damn thing. So this is, and then they have a chart here. They have all kinds of charts. So what I'd like to ask you to do is, and they've got the benefit of doing local enforcement versus the benefit of having the state do it. It's all in here. But the headline to this thing is, after massive investment locally to create a citywide minimum wage ordinance, which is now a law, city committee considers suggesting canceling the whole damn thing. That's the basic story. In this, I would expect that you would need to read all of the old articles for Pasadena Now to get a feeling for the history, and read this report also. Collaborate with David Cross, who went through a lot of this and remembers a lot of it. Talk to local labor leaders and business leaders. Again, it's Paul Little. And basically ask them, looking back, did the city rush into this thing? in retrospect? Did the city rush into something it should have waited for? What move do you favor? Would it just be easier just to fold this into the state's law and not maintain our own? It sure would be cheaper. Now, the city's trying to save money, Brandon. The budget is a huge, huge problem. This thing costs money. So I guess it's fair to ask the city manager's office, Steve Mermel, uh, if the city manager um, has an opinion or a direction or any guidance or any leanings on the topic of just um, negating the city ordinance on minimum wage and adopting the state's ordinance, because clearly it will save money for the city of Pasadena. Is it a budgetary thing for them? So this is an overview with as many voices in business and government and labor that you can come up with. And just reading the old articles about the minimum wage ordinance, I'm sure you will hear and see names. And so David Cross also will too. He knows many of them as well. Thank you very much.